Hey party people, it's Lycona Dacheechee, and welcome to the easy peasy guide for Eden's Verse Iconoclasm Savage, or better known as E7S. To start things off, we have our markers set up like this because they'll become important with mechanics and positioning later in the fight. Also, if you take a look at the stage, we can form horizontal and vertical lanes using the squares and their edges. Keep this in mind as we can use these to position our characters and dodge mechanics throughout the entire fight. Our first mechanic is Empty Wave, which is just a raid-wide AoE, followed by Unshadowed Stake, which is a shared tank buster. The tank with the tether should pull it away from the party and take the first laser hit. After the first laser hit, the other tank should move in front and take the second laser hit. Next up, we'll get Words of Motion. A red portal and a blue portal will spawn at the back of the stage. Giant white bird balls will spawn at the front of the stage in two sets of two, one after the other. They dash from the front towards the back, and the first set to spawn will always dash first. The last set to spawn will always dash last. This principle also holds true when the bird balls enter any portal throughout the fight. When the next set of portals spawns, the bird balls will shoot out of those portals in the same order in which they entered them. In other words, it's all about seeing which bird balls enter into which portals and using that information to dodge the bird balls coming out of the next set of portals. To make it easier on ourselves, take note of which bird ball dashed into the portal last. In this case, it's the blue portal. This means that for the next set of portals that spawn, a blue portal lane is safe to stand in. Then when you dodge the next set of portals, again, look at which bird ball dashed into the last portal, and then that portal color is the new safe lane. The bird balls will always shoot out of the portals on the right side of the stage and enter into the portals on the left. There are 3 sets of portals and you'll need to dodge each set. There are also 2 portals that spawn in the middle lanes at the front and the back, but don't worry about those now and focus on the portals on the sides. Something that's helped me out is that if you go to the far right or left sides of the stage, the back or front portals will never spawn on those sides, so you don't even have to worry about them. Also note that the safe lane colors can be different for each round, so you really have to pay attention to which bird balls enter in which portals. After the last set of portals disappear, head back into the middle. 2 line AoEs will spawn, followed by a little side push. Then a lot of stuff will come out at the same time, so let's go over each one of them in detail. Also, you don't want to stand on the outside edges because that little pushback will push you off the stage if you do. 4 bird balls will spawn at the front, and each one of them will tether to a single DPS. Everyone in the party will get these little mini teleportation AoEs on them. Those personal teleports will warp your character to the other spot that you're attached to when the debuff countdown timer reaches 0. If you look at your debuff list, you'll see that they each have these little yellow arrows on them. This indicates which direction your portal is going to warp you, depending on which way your character is facing. So for example, since my debuff has the arrows pointing right, my personal teleport portal is going to warp me to my character's right. So I need to first position my character and then face my character in a certain direction so that I can warp to a particular spot. These portals can warp you in 4 directions, either left or right or forward and back. Which way you'll warp is random, so be on the lookout for it. The healers each get a stack marker above their heads, so each tank will need to stack with their respective healer. Once everyone teleports, the bird balls will dash towards the DPS with the tethers. There are many different configurations on how to solve this mechanic properly. This is what we did for us, but work with your party to see what works best for you. Next up, Empty Wave will hit again, which is the raid-wide AoE, followed by Unshadowed Stake, which is the tank buster. False Moonlight is up next, and this mechanic will feel very familiar if you've done the Leviathan fight from Eden's Gate. We all stack in the middle here. AoEs will appear under us, and then we split the party up, 4 on the right side and 4 on the left. You'll want to place your AoEs as close to the outside lane as possible, but make sure not to place them in the outside lanes. Bird balls will always dash through those outer lanes, so you don't want to get hit by them. Once you place your AoEs, dodge towards the outside of the stage. Everyone will then get personal teleports on them, and you'll want to teleport into the middle from the outside. The tanks and the healers will each get an AoE around them, while the rest of the DPS will need to stack together with their teleports. For our pattern, we decided to go with these spots, with 2 tanks up front, the DPS in the middle, and the healers at the back. This configuration gives our party the maximum DPS uptime. And after all that is said and done, group back up into the middle and get ready for the ad phase. 2 idle ads will spawn on each side, and the blasphemy ad will spawn in the middle. Each tank will need to pick up their own idle ad and be ready to kite them either clockwise or anti-clockwise, depending on which way the blasphemy ad will move. The blasphemy ad moves on its own, so you'll want to keep an equal distance away from all the ads during this phase. If any of the ads get too close together, they'll tether one another and you won't be able to damage them. You'll also need to split your party up into 2 groups consisting of a tank, a healer, and 2 DPS for each of the idle ads. You can move anywhere on stage, but it's best to stay near your ad and your group for several mechanics that come out during this entire phase. Just don't stray too far away from your group and your ad and you'll be okay. Also note that you can put your dots or damage over time abilities on all the ads for maximum DPS. First up, Blasphemy will shoot out 4 line AoEs that target random folks, and each group will get an AoE on them. Stack with your group for this AoE and heal through it. Each idle ad will cast Advent of Light, which must be silenced, while 4 more line AoEs come out of the Blasphemy. Next, we'll get the stack AoEs on the groups again, and you'll want to bait these lines away from each idle ad and then stack underneath them to share the stack damage. Just be careful here, as soggy baits can mean your group will be split up and can't stack together in time. Next up, both idle ads will turn into vertical donuts. Just stack underneath them because this is a dynamo AoE or a donut AoE. Then everyone will get their little teleportation warps again. And you'll want to teleport towards the direction you're moving and make sure that you're all teleporting as a group together. The group AoE will go off as soon as everyone teleports to their new location. Next up, the idle ads will throw out their AoEs. One is the vertical donut like from before, and that one's a dynamo. The other one turns into a hockey puck, which is a regular AoE. For the folks who get dynamo, just stack underneath just like usual. But if you get the hockey puck AoE, make sure you dodge towards the blasphemy ad, because if you dodge towards one of the other idols, you might accidentally get hit with that idol's AoE. The stack marker comes out again, and so we just share this normally. And at this time, both idle ads will start casting Explosion, which is their enrage. You'll also need to kill the idle ads both at the same time, because just like similar mechanics in the past, if you kill one, the other one automatically starts casting their enrage. After both idle ads are down, turn your attention to the Blasphemy ad and DPS that one down. Heal up through the Blasphemy AoE as well as the AoEs coming from the boss, and welcome to the next phase. Next up, the boss will cast Unjoined Aspect, which will put white and purple colors on everyone. Just keep in mind that for the rest of the fight, you'll need to always get your opposite color. White and purple bird balls will spawn, so you'll need to stand in either the far right lane or the far left lane, depending on which color is your opposite. The 2 tanks will need to be the closest to each ball up front because a line stack tether will come out from the balls on the outside. Each group will need to stay in their outside lanes for the birds to dash before coming back into the middle. Words of Enchantment will come out next and will place 4 bird balls at each side of the stage, and 4 towers will spawn in the corners. Each bird ball and tower has their own color. A tether will come out for each bird ball, which will tether to the closest person. These balls can also be moved and dragged along the edges of the stage and positioned. We have the tanks and healers go grab their opposite color bird ball and stand on the right inside lane or clockwise. What we mean by this is that if the tanks and the healers all stand in these spots, which are in the inside lane but clockwise to the center, when their balls dash through the middle, they won't hit anyone else. Thus, to avoid confusion, we say clockwise on the inside lane. For us, this helped avoid confusing callouts on which lane to stand in or adjust on the fly. And because the ball colors are randomized, it's easy to get into the correct position lane no matter which side the tanks and the healers go to. The DPS will take their towers in the corners, and once everything goes off, come back into the middle for another set of bird balls. Just like before, go to your opposite color ball, tanks should be the closest to the balls up front, and take your dashes on the outside lanes. After those dashes happen, come back to the middle again for a new set of color debuffs to spawn. A red and blue portal will appear at the back of the stage, while the white and purple bird balls will pop down at the front. Now, at this point, I just couldn't wrap my brain around how to do this originally because there were so many colors and so many portal colors to work with. But thankfully, with the help of the Final Fantasy XIV community research program, we found out that there are only 2 patterns for this portal mechanic coming up next. Either you stay in your lane for every bird dash, or you switch lanes for every bird dash. So let's go over what we need to do in detail. 4 purple and 4 white colors will spawn on the party. The tanks and the healers will always get the same same colors, and the DPS will also always get the same colors. First, stand in your lane with the opposite color bird ball, and then look behind you to see which portal color is in the opposite lane. That portal color lane is now your safe color lane for the next set of portals. Also at this point, you can forget what color you have on your character because we're going to be focusing on the pattern. Once the next portals spawn, look at both the right and the left portal colors in the same lane. If the portals in the same lane are different colors, then you need to stay in your lane for each dash. If the portals in the same lane are the same color, then you need to switch lanes after every dash. So let's go over these mechanics in real time and see how our group calls this out so that everyone can properly dodge all the things, regardless of what color you actually have. So DPS is starting on blue, tanks and healers will start on red. Look for the portal color lanes. The portal colors are the same, so we're going to switch lanes every time. And that's it for the callouts. Everyone else can figure out what they need to do exactly. There are a couple of AoEs that come out, so don't overlap your safe lane that you're standing in. And with just those two callouts, we took a whole bunch of colors and complicated things and made it very simple for everyone. After all the portals are done, stand back in the middle for Empty Wave again, followed by Unshadowed Stake. The boss will jump away and put down a blue circle knockback AoE in the middle of the stage. And for this one, your anti-knockbacks won't work, so you'll have to stand in such a position so you get knocked back into a corner. Everyone will get colors again, and we want to split the party up into 3 groups. The 2 tanks will be at north, while the rest of the party will sort themselves out by matching their color with the color of the markers on the stage. This is the reason why we have the markers set up like this, because it makes it easy for everyone to just match their colors to get in position for the next mechanic. 3 orbs will spawn at once on the stage, 1 for each group. These orbs have colors, and you'll need to pop the opposite color orb just like the other color mechanics. The boss will slowly rotate, throwing out AoEs that come from the center of the tornado. So you'll have to slowly rotate with the boss counterclockwise, popping new orbs as they spawn. When the orbs explode, their AoEs will turn your color into the opposite color. Each person will take turns popping the orbs. Be careful not to stand too close to an orb if you're not popping it, as it will change your color, preventing you from surviving the next orb pop or dying from it if you had the same color. You want to grab these orbs no matter what, even if that means sacrificing yourself, because if you don't, they'll explode and wipe the party. To avoid confusion, we have the healers take the first orb, the melees take the second orbs, and the ranged DPS take the last orbs. The tanks will just switch back and forth between theirs. Also, another thing to note is that you can't go under the boss or you'll die. We tried that, and it didn't end well. After you're done with one rotation, 3 purple or white rings will spawn around the boss, and this is just stand in your opposite color each time. After the 3 rings come out, the boss will cast 2 empty waves back to back, and then we repeat the tornado phase. Everyone will get colors, split into your 3 groups, rotate around the boss, and pop the orbs, stand in your opposite color for the 3 rings, and then take the empty wave hits again. The boss is enraged soon after that, but if you've got the DPS to take him down, congratulations, you just cleared Eden's Verse Iconoclasm Savage, otherwise known as E7S. You know, when we were clearing this, progressing through it, we all thought it was Leviathan 2.0. Nothing wrong with that, but I mean, the stage is the same, the big old boss hit ring is the same, there was even the same mechanic principles that were the same, but for the most part, it was exciting. You know, it was different. It was different from the first couple of fights where, you know, Ramuh is very strategic and Ifrit Garuda is very action, and this one is very, how should I say, just like a relaxing time before you have to go into Shiva. So we enjoyed it, we progressed, and hopefully this guide has helped you out in getting your clear and with the different mechanics, especially the portal mechanics. And that's the reason why this guide came out a little bit later after the Shiva guide that I did, because I just couldn't wrap my head around the portal mechanics. And I mean, when we were first progressing on this, the first set of portals, just to wrap it around our brains, we probably spent a good 2 or 3 hours just getting to those first set of portals and figuring out how they work. And then when we saw that you had to have your own color and then the opposite color and then the portal colors, and it was just like, our minds would like melt and like they would ooze out and like on our desk and on our keyboards and stuff. So for the most part, we really enjoyed that puzzle, and I really got to give a huge shout out to the Final Fantasy community, or whoever the person or people are who came up with the secondary portal mechanic, because Without that, I was like, my first couple of clears, I was completely lost. It was all luck that I was dodging those things. So thank you to the community. Thank you to you guys for checking out this video. Thank you to my raid team and my raid leader for going over all of these mechanics to make sure that they are accurate and on point. And I'm also going to have them double check this just to make sure it's all correct. But thank you guys for hanging in there. And until next time, keep on adventuring.